and gentlemen, analysts and associates, welcome to your Managing Director Secretary's favorite podcast, the Big Swinging Decks Podcast by Litquidity and Mark Moran. This is not financial advice. You'd be a bottom bucket analyst to make investment decisions based on what is discussed on this show.
Welcome to another edition of Big Swinging Decks. Lit, how the fuck are you today?
Doing well, Mark. Very busy news day, okay? I'm excited to get into this, but do you want to tell our shareholders a little bit about what they're going to listen to?
You know what, Lit? I think I will. You know, we had a lot of shareholder follow-up questions after last week's episode on cryptocurrency, everything kind of Web3, metaverse, all that. So we're going to start off with answering a few of the questions we've received, going a little bit more into detail on a few crypto topics, and then we're going to do a little NFT 101. Maybe we'll play some cash or pass, but we're also going to talk about a little incident that that just hit the news wire very recently, which involves a strip club. So, Lit, you know, it was interesting because I sent you a little bit of bone to pick. I sent you some breaking news yesterday that you didn't report until today.
Yeah, I gotta say that
Bloomberg beat us to it.
Hey, look, I mean, I needed a little verification of sources before going out there.
It did sound kind of made up, but do you want to tell our shareholders what that story was, what the information we got was?
Yeah, so you texted me something that was pretty juicy, and it said, please keep an on, of course. But apparently the whole DB SPAC team is fired except for head MD, Hackle. I'm guessing that's the MD's last name. Coordinated lie around a strip club receipt charged to the firm. Now, I will say, though, the Bloomberg article did not pick up on the strip club part. They just mentioned that people were fired. So I think we can still fill the gaps. Yeah,
well, I mean, they've been texting me trying to get the sources. And look, as journalists with a capital J, we do not give up sources. But, it's one of those interesting things, right? Because it's like, I send you this screenshot, and then, they go on, and like what irritated me, though, in this article is, obviously, like, this is a SPAC team, and SPACs have been big, the past year. So that's kind of an attention-grabbing thing. It's a whole team, and it's this attention-grabbing thing of, like, the olden days of Wall Street, going to a strip club, blah, blah, blah. But like what they did, like they named names, including like of one associate. And for me, I just thought that was like, why would you do that and trying to ruin someone's career? Like obviously if you're the managing director or whatever, the one who is kind of probably in charge of the whole reimbursement thing and telling everyone below, hey, I don't know, what the reimbursement process is at Deutsche Bank. Yeah. Like it probably sucks and it's tedious, but like, the one who created this, right? Like, the associate, he can probably, salvage his career by just being like, hey, I was forced to go along with this. Like everyone knows that type of situation. But like, to me, to put his name out there, like, I don't know, that was kind of fucked up to me. Yeah,
I mean, I agree. I probably wouldn't do that. I like to go after the people who actually deserve to, be mentioned. And yeah, like an MD should obviously know way better and is probably in that power position that, the junior team's like, yeah, okay, it sounds good. Like I'll just follow along, and then boom, they get fucked.
Realistically, what leverage do you have in that situation? Like, say you're out getting, drinks, right, and then it turns into, a crazy night, and you're like, okay, I'm the associate, I'm 28, whatever, I'm 30, I'm with my director. You don't want to be the buzzkill. Yeah, and you're not gonna be. You put anyone in that situation. Anyone who is a banker in financial services, you can think what you want, but you're gonna go along with that situation, and you're not gonna stand up for yourself or do anything. Like you're just gonna do that because it's at the end of the day, like no harm, no foul, right? Like you can debate, the moral things around a strip club and all that, but like whatever. And it's just so funny because like actually when I was at Credit Suisse, there was an incident where there was an individual who took a summer intern to a strip club, and then which wasn't me, just to clarify. And then
speaking on behalf of a friend, huh?
Yeah, speaking on behalf of a friend who now works at a different bank, so I can say it was at CS, but he basically got docked like $20K off his bonus because it like turned into an HR issue. But the head of the group at the time kind of like made up for it to this guy like with his own money, and he's like, "Look, I know the bank's doing this to you. Here's this. It's kind of like ridiculous situation overall, but I don't know. I mean, people make mistakes. Things like this happen. Like, is it worth destroying someone's career over, for other people's entertainment? Like, nah, I don't think so. And like, that's coming from us. Like, why don't we just go after like David Solomon, who is going to go play at like Lollapalooza and can't raise the analysts, dinner comp by, $10, right? Like, let's go after him.
That's a wonderful transition, Mark. And
you like that?
just to put a bow on the other one though, it's like, I mean, yeah, the only way you're gonna get out of a situation like that without being like like, oh, dude, you're a pussy, is like, hey, man, I have explosive diarrhea. Sorry, I can't go. Like I just
right.
Like you gotta say something absurd and whatever, and you can't get ridiculed, even though you would for saying diarrhea. But that's okay. So Lollapalooza, this
on.
one.
And why don't you take this, because you have more of a knowledge and an interest in this.
Yeah, I love music, especially.
I don't think people know that you're passionate that much about it.
Yeah, I occasionally like post a couple of Spotify, songs onto the stories just to give a sense of like what I'm into. But there's also SoundCloud, where it's like that's where you get the real deep house. That
I'm
like,
a SoundCloud guy.
Yeah,
I'm there for the remixes though.
Yeah, exactly. Like Spotify is just more corporate, commercial. You'll get the real underground shit in SoundCloud, but. Yeah. So Metallica, Dua Lipa, J. Cole, Green Day. Okay, those are like the headliners for Lollapalooza this summer. That's a really fucking strange mix. Metallica juxtaposed by Dua Lipa. I cannot think of anything.
It's literally like the most stereotypical bands, groups, individuals of like 3 different decades, right? Like, it's kind of wild.
Yeah, and so I mean, this festival poster looks like a IPO, tombstone, and Metallica's clearly left lead on this whole thing. And if you read all the way to the bottom, probably like
Fourth
number 200.
Right?
Yeah, 4th line from the bottom, you see a David Solomon, the David Solomon, DJ Diesel, who is performing there. And, I don't think Goldman Sachs has ever been that low in the league tables. I mean, he looks like he's 40th
aside from
co-manager. Yeah, like making 10 grand on the IPO.
The Blair book runner position normally.
Yeah. Or was it Pat Crest? I think was one that I always saw in these tech deals. And
what was it? Like, Pat Crest? That sounds like an Irish pub.
Pack, like Pacific Crest. I think I don't fucking know. They were always there.
You ever buy anything from PacSun?
Of course,
like
dude.
some like Volcom stuff or like some Vans.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, nice. I didn't. Yeah. I didn't go through like a punk
puka
stage.
Shells,
we should bring those back this year. Maybe at our summer parties, which we'll have more info on soon. I think that could be a solid move. Could be a really solid move. Okay, so before we get into kind of just our more general crypto stuff, I went on kind of like a Wikipedia rabbit hole yesterday, right? Did you know that Ted Turner, who founded CNN, right? When CNN was created in 1980, he recorded this video that is going to be played, or that is supposed to allegedly be played at the end of the world on CNN.
At the end of the world?
At the end of the world. Like, there's a Wikipedia page and stuff for this, that there is this video that they have that was recorded in 1980 that will be played at the end of the world on CNN.
So, like, if there's, like, global nuclear war and like, every place is bombed, like... Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, you have the nuclear holocaust, and you can be like, oh, let me turn into CNN to watch like this orchestra or whatever the fuck they recorded, and be like, yeah, definitely don't believe, Ted Turner wasn't involved in this somehow. Interesting guy. There's an interesting book I read because like fascinating thing in terms of like the development of like cable. Like he started off doing advertising, like billboards and stuff, and like grew CNN, but like a lunatic. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Just anything with like these big media types, it's always a little suspicious.
Very, yeah. So
Very.
we can blame
Very.
it all on CNN.
Blame it all on the mainstream media, okay? And I had a tweet yesterday, and it's like, that Bocconi school. How do you pronounce that to our Italian?
Bocconi, I think.
Bocconi, yeah. I don't think that's real, dude. I think that's a scam.
That's the Harvard of. I gotta look up the cities
Harvard of Italy.
But Italy, yeah.
Yeah.
Bocconi. Okay.
Bocconi. It's like Bocconi.
Oh, it's in Milan. Milan. Okay.
Milan, and then there's IE Business School. Like, yeah, that's not made up, sure. And then INSEAD. INSEAD's definitely not real, dude. I'm sorry. I think all those schools, like, I think it's just a scam. It's a big scam.
Hey, well, there you go.
It's my controversial take.
Birds aren't real too. I'm not sure
They're
if you've.
They're definitely not. Oh, also, I want to shout out the Instagram page Shoes and Stocks right now because I'm wearing a long Ukraine hat and short Russia hat. So it says long and then the Ukrainian flag, short and then the Russian flag hat that I got from her page. So if you guys want to go support that, I believe all the proceeds go to UNICEF or a certain charity. I don't know. It goes at charity.
Nice, yeah. It's a fresh hat.
Speaking of charities for the shoe that we're going to be dropping, the Del Toro one, we just like finalized the charity that it's the proceeds are going to go to for Ukraine. So super excited about that. But should we roll in? Should we flip the page with our shareholders and actually roll into this main outside in perspectives discussion on crypto, a continuation, if you will?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
So a few questions that the shareholders had. So, because we kind of started off in the beginning, like explaining the blockchain, explaining certain things, but smart contracts. When people, and we're going to get into this, but the whole concept of like right-clicking on an NFT, shit like that, right? Where it's like, oh, but there's only one on the blockchain. Can you explain how the kind of smart contract works?
Fuck, that is really putting me on the spot, Mark. But
yeah, I hate you with that.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think there's so taking a step back from the NFT and just like smart contracts. A smart contract is essentially like a contract that is
smart. It's wicked smart. Look at my boy contract. He's smart.
Yeah, it's like a programmable contract that you can set the rules of what it is, and like in order for an action to take place on a blockchain that supports smart contracts like Ethereum or Solana, you have to agree to it. So it's like, hey, I want to take this action. Like I want to connect my wallet to OpenSea or another, decentralized app or whatever, right? And so like that's one way of verifying like, okay, this user actually wants to do this thing versus, like being hacked and, whatever. It just like does whatever. But that was a terrible explanation. But that's all to say that smart contracts are what like separates, Ethereum to like Bitcoin, because Bitcoin in itself doesn't have smart contracts, and that's one reason why you see a lot of applications being built on top of smart contract blockchains.
Yeah.
So it's like you can think of it as like the App Store where Apple and Google like have the largest app stores out there, and then developers like create apps that you can download and use on the phone. And Ethereum is like the same thing, where it's like there's a D app, D for decentralized, not for dick. Allows.
Who said that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I know your head was going there, but
I have been listening to the "Just Thinking with My Dick" song by Kevin Gates. Like that's been like on the workout playlist.
Well, we can't play that. I already know.
That song. Yeah, we're not playing that. We're not. I didn't even ask this time. But it's interesting, like, to hear you talk about that though, because I think one thing that like totally changed my mind in terms of just how contracts work was when I was in law school and learning about contracts, and that it's like there are multiple kind of aspects of contract that have to occur for it to be a valid contract. And like there is like this great case, and of course it takes place in Virginia, and it was this guy who he kept getting drunk actually, it takes place like in Farmville, Virginia, which is where Longwood University is, where hopefully we'll get Griff Aldrich, the basketball coach, from there on the podcast soon. But that was also where Brown v. the Board of Education was, another interesting fact.
Okay.
But there's this drunk, and he would go to the bar, and he'd run out of money, and this would happen all the time. And then he would basically just barter off, like, he'd be like, okay, I'll sell you my truck, if I can get, 10 more Budweisers or whatever. One day he literally says to the bartender, he's like, look, I'll just give you the farm. And because it had been such a consistent thing, because like this had happened and occurred in the past, and there had been like, various exchanges of goods, and that despite him like being drunk and incapacitated, like it was still a valid contract, but it all depends on like the circumstance and stuff. But that's interesting here, because it's essentially, you have these smart contracts, and they're between two people, and they're executed on the blockchain, but then they're still trackable after that. So it's like there's none of this kind of like question, is there, a cent? Is there like anything else? Like it's just there, and it's immutable,
Yeah, no, and that's the best part. It's like it travels.
Part. That's what gets me going.
It travels across the internet, and you can't change it. And it's like, dude, like, here it is, right? Like for anyone to see. Yeah. So, and I think that's what's so powerful about it. And what a lot of people tend to gloss over when they focus on like Dogecoin or whatever other, shit coins that are out there that just like, like they have no real underlying utility. And here it's like, okay, like let's find a real fucking smart way of using this type of stuff. And, I think like, smart contracts, if you can like build out something to track, ownership, like, I don't know, real estate, right? Like that's usually something.
How many
big.
bitches you get?
That too, you can write that into a contract and keep tally of your body count, and also like NFTs, right? Like great,
interesting. Look at that,
man,
Lit. You're becoming a podcast professional, dude.
Yeah, 10 in, and I know everything there is to know about podcasting.
Exactly right. So look, I mean, when you've been a banker. You learn the skill set of acting like you know everything, which I have found out is not the best quality in relationships, of acting like you know everything. But that's a story for another day. So going to NFTs, I want to talk to you about what they mean. Okay. What do they mean, number one? Who is these NFTs? Are they in the room with us right now?
Yeah, they stand for non-fungible titties.
Oh, okay. Interesting. And, so how does, like, the whole concept of this, because, like, I mean, they've been around for a little bit, right? But it was last year when everything kind of took off. And what's interesting to me is that, you have these, like, with Mozart and shit, not Mozart, with, like, fucking, who's the guy... Vincent Van Gogh or some shit. Like, Vincent Van Gogh. Like, I'm trying to pick an artist. He makes one painting. Like, he paints the Sistine Chapel one time, right? Whoever the fuck it was. Which is a beautiful place. When I saw it, I was like, this is dope. Time to go, though.
Yeah.
But wasn't that impressed with it in person. But, it's like you make one. But with these, you have, let's say on average, it's like 8,000 to 10,000 pieces in a collection, right? And, like, the idea, though, that is something that, like, I've really learned from you, is that, you create this community, when you do it right, and you're not rug pulling someone, you create this community aspect around them by having so many of them. Like, I would love to hear your take on that for the shareholders.
Yeah, I think that NFTs range from the use case, and I think there could be, a Van Gogh that emerges, kind of like Beeple, who was this NFT artist.
That was the most expensive one, right?
I think, it was like 60 million or something like absurd, right? And I think like Van Gogh would have crushed it if he was alive in the time of NFTs. But like, so there is room for that type of like unique digital art that like, people would pay for in the analog sense, as in like, physical painting. And here it's like, you can actually prove that you own it. Like, provenance is like one of the major things where it's like, you've had art gallery scandals of like, I forget, there's one in New York that I saw like a Netflix documentary on, and like they were able to fake who had owned this
well, I mean,
quote
art
unquote
is,
real painting.
One of if not the most common way of moving funds around illegally.
Right. Yeah. And so people think NFTs are like a way of like laundering money, and it's kind of like, well, you're going to launder money in a way that's easily trackable and searchable on the blockchain. Anyone in the entire world can look up, where it's been, and okay, cool. That's not the best use of it.
In that sense, though, there is these certain wash sales that go on where it's like, if I had two, Ethereum wallets, right, I could essentially take the money in one and then buy, an NFT that, for $30K, let's call it, and then I could sell it for like $10K and be like, oh my God, you're getting this for a discount, and make it seem like, the last person really bought it for $30K. Like, how does one protect against that?
It's hard, right? Like that is a huge
and I
problem.
asked that like kind of as a leading question, because I think like there you can kind of easily track that, right? But it's just like it's one of those things. It's one of those things that like when you're in like the early innings of something, like who really knows where all this stuff is going to go 100%, right? Like, I mean, I think, like there's certain like really bad ideas in the industry. Like, remember what was that one app called? Like they did the vending machine, and it's like, you're going to have a vending machine for NFTs. Like, that doesn't seem good. Like, dumb.
Gimmick, pass.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Pass on that one.
Yeah, no, but look, I think like wash sales are going to happen, and people will probably just spend their own money shuffling money amongst each other, and it like that relies on people to be smart, and like, okay, if you're going to buy like a piece,
that's a tough thing to ask for people buying NFTs.
Yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, there needs to be more education around it. And like, if you're going to buy something, don't just buy it because the price is like at a certain amount. It's like, you have to believe in it somehow. And I think that's why I'm like, look, I'm not actively just buying any fucking random drop out there. It's like, oh, it's the next big thing. Cause it's like, it could be pumped by a wash sale, but I think that, I would only buy one if I think there's utility behind it. And like, for example, I bought one
utility.
Utility, good word, right? And it's like Lynx DAO is one that I bought, and this is for golf enthusiasts. There were like 2 tiers of memberships, and they promised exactly like what you're going to get from it. Their whole marketing was, we're going to buy a golf course. And if you think about it, it's going to be very tough just based on what they initially did. But like, now that I hold this like membership card, right? Like I get discounts to the PGA Superstore, Galaxy Golf. They have partnerships with 5-Iron Golf. They where you get like a free lesson. You get like discounts on beers and bay times and like all this shit that I'm like, okay, that is something I'll pay for, and I know that there's some value ascribed to it. Versus like
DAOs, could we make a DAO to buy Epstein's Island, do you think?
I think we could, yeah. Like, I mean, I
would
think
buy
that
the Lolita Express, which is currently in a hangar in like Southwest Georgia right now. I googled that.
Okay, well, like we can start lower and then work our way up to the full island. But yeah, like that's something that if we actually wanted to, I guess we can connect offline on this. Like the way that you actually
we can connect offline. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I'll take this offline.
What, are you gonna fucking Slack me? I hate Slack. Number one, fuck Slack. Fuck.
All right then, Mark. But
anyway.
Yeah. But like, the possibilities are endless, right? Like, you can form a DAO to literally do anything. It's just rallying people around a cause.
Yeah, and so kind of in that same vein of this group, and you started talking about community, right? And I'd love to touch a little bit more on that, because I think one of the projects, if you will, that has been most successful is Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? And that's really because of the community that they've created, to the point that it becomes this joke of people, wearing the sweatshirt around and stuff like that. But would love to get your take on that, and kind of what they did and how it's become something that I think versus most all other projects, is considered much more successful.
Yeah, so I think like they're the poster child of, like, oh, I'm gonna screenshot your profile picture and now I like saved myself, 300 grand. But I think like, okay, yeah, you screenshot this, but did you get access to any of the events that they did, or ApeCoin, which they just recently launched? Which
tell me about ApeCoin. How did that do? Because I noticed one morning I woke up and you're in quite a heated battle with some people.
I wasn't in a battle around ApeCoin. It was more around just saying that a lot of the
I think they were in a battle with you.
Yeah, well, no, it was the Bored Ape people I just said are fucking annoying on Twitter, which they are. And, it's like they like to flex that they have something expensive, which I think like if you're doing that in the normal world, right, the physical world, if you're like, yo, look at me, I got like 12 fucking Rolexes, I got my Lamborghini, whatever, it's like you're kind of setting yourself up to be robbed or killed or whatever. And it's like, learn like just to be humble and whatever. And it's like, I think that's annoying, but kudos
I wouldn't
to
say
them, right?
Humility's a strength all the time, but
Yeah, well, that's the bone I have to pick with them.
It doesn't get you that far. Being humble my whole life, sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't.
Yeah, well, but look, I think going back to that, it's like, okay, only the people who actually have a Bored Ape that's provable from the blockchain, and like, it's like, okay, I got it from the actual collection. They were entitled to get this ApeCoin, which is a token that was released, that was airdropped into Bored Ape holder wallets, and it was like, I think valued at like 20 or 30 grand a piece, like for every ape that you had. And no one who screenshot that obviously got that. So now that's going to be like a token that's used for all their efforts to get into like the metaverse and NFT gaming and like all this other stuff, which, I personally probably wouldn't use it, but hey, like there's a huge community for that and there's value to it. And again, like I think the real thing is like they created a community and, they're giving back to it, by like launching initiatives and projects and tokens and all this good stuff, versus like you have a lot of these scam ones that are like, oh, we're going to promise that all that utility and all this value from it, but then you have the developers who rug pull you and they take your money, they shut down the Discord, they shut down the website, and they're gone, and so is all your money.
Yeah, and I mean, I think too, like, in any space where there's innovation, there's always going to be things that don't go according to plan, right? Because no one's done it before. So it's like the ApeCoin, like, I don't know, maybe that was, maybe, the NFT collection and the community you build from there, that's enough, rather than trying to get into a coin or something like that, right? Maybe that was too far of an extension. And then, you have other things where it's like they're just straight rug pulls, which, we kind of talked about how it can be tough to, really parse the truth from, what's fake out there, and you kind of gave a list of some of the Twitter accounts to follow where you get your news from, which I thought was great. But it's interesting too, because I think for one thing that I just wanted to touch on before we move on, though, is like, we're talking about kind of these smart contracts that get built on top of, say, Ethereum, but there are some NFT platforms that are building on top of Solana. And so, how would you kind of see the differences there? Obviously, the gas fees for Ethereum are something that really kills a lot. Like, I remember as a joke, I made a NFT, like just like a Valentine's Day NFT as a joke, so I can make the thing for free on my phone, but then in terms of like uploading it to OpenSea's, like, it's like $200 in gas fees.
Yeah, that's one of the issues with Ethereum, and currently working on scaling it so that gas fees aren't as high as they are. But Solana is like, seen as like this quicker blockchain, much cheaper. And I think it all just comes down to the architecture of like how it's built. And I mean, you can get really granular on this, but the whole point is that Solana is more centralized in how they were created and how they're set up versus like Bitcoin, which is the most decentralized blockchain out there that cannot be controlled by one person. Solana, it has less decentralization and like could go down. It has gone down. Like the blockchain's like,
what do
just
you mean
not
when
functioning.
you say gone down? Like what?
Like literally, like you can't transact
crashed.
on it. Yeah, it just crashed, and that's it, right? And and like so, like
my AOL dial-up growing up.
Yeah, well, there are trade-offs to decentralization and speed and lower transaction fees, but barring any crashes like that on Solana, it's like that really will save you gas fees. And I think they're obviously improving on it every day, but like whatever. I think it all just comes down to your personal preference.
Interesting. So one of the things that I feel like I see a lot on the internet is you have your Bitcoin maxis, right, where they shit on anyone who, like, even if you're just pro Ethereum, like, or Solana, like, they're just shitting on everyone, calling everything else a shitcoin. What's your kind of take on the Bitcoin maxis?
I fucking hate Bitcoin maxis. I think Michael Saylor is like the biggest example of like someone who's just, like preaches like as if he's talking about a god and like it's going to cure world hunger and it's going to cure world wars and like.
Is that where like the Bitcoin fixes this thing comes from?
I don't fucking know. I think so. I'm sure he says that and dreams it and jacks off when there's any like positive news about Bitcoin. But like that,
Michael Saylor jacks off to Bitcoin. You heard it here first on the Big Swinging Decks podcast.
He definitely does. But yeah, look. I think you can be a proponent of something without like literally like having its balls down your throat, right? And that's, I think, how maxis come across. I think that's how anyone like GameStop people last year and AMC apes, like, just like relax.
Well, I mean, and I think too, like we live in a time where, and let's see, I haven't had this thought, so putting it into words, but I think with certain financial things where you have a lot of people who are newer to something who potentially, have been excluded from previous times of wealth accumulation, that they see certain aspects of, Web3 or things, within the retail investor revolution that they cling to as like, this is my pot of gold that will make, me my millions, that will totally change my entire life, that will make it, blah, 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 right? We can go on and on. And I think that is a huge danger. I don't think, our shareholders are the type that would do that, because most people listening to this have probably gone through years and years, if not decades of, actual financial education and are very financially literate. But it is a fascinating like psychological concept when you think about it, that it's like you can be someone who you could have had $0 in the stock market, right? But then, over the past 2 years, you could have built yourself into being, a thought leader in the NFT space and like have a lot of wealth tied up through that. It's very fascinating.
Yeah, for sure. And I think some people like got lucky, but then there are others who actually like believed in the technology and now it's actually paying off. So it's just finding out the most genuine people and the people who actually know what they're talking about, and that's easier said than done sometimes, especially on social media, and when you don't even know their like when you don't know their personal identities, like me. No, but I think it just comes across, right, like through the content over time. And I think there are people that just follow me and they're like, oh, like, aren't you the stock trader pumper? I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, no. Just because,
like there's a big difference between like, a retail investor and like how we approach our thought process with stuff. Like, we're not, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I did lose a few grand when I was in law school, like day trading penny stocks in the back of the class. Like, that benefited no one. But, I've since learned that actually, like, day trading, that's not where I'm going to be making my money, right? And, but I do think what you're saying is really interesting, because when we think about Web3, like, part of the opportunity there is that it's decentralized, from your JP Morgans, your Morgan Stanleys, your big banks, stuff like that. And, it's a more democratized place. And, I think one of the best descriptions I heard was it's kind of like, it's almost like what the internet was, back in the day, where it's, certain groups of people who are kind of early movers on it, and they're just like having fun out there creating new concepts, right? But what's interesting, though, about it is, like, it's not all that decentralized in terms of certain spaces, like, for NFT marketplaces, right? Like, you have OpenSeas, which, 80%, let's call it, of the volume is transacted on, and then you have certain other ones like Rarify or whatever, but they're all owned by the same VCs.
Rarible,
and so. Yeah, Rarible. Yeah. And so, it's interesting to me, because it's like we're just kind of shifting into a different thing that's still going to ultimately, the power will be concentrated by a few people.
Yeah, that's I think what Jack Dorsey has been railing about. The ex CEO of Twitter, and he's now just a full-blown Bitcoin maxi. And I think like there is truth to that, though, because one, right, like it's a emerging asset class and technology, and VCs are swooping in and being early and seemingly pumping all of it, but that there has to be some sort of investment that has to be made to actually get something off the ground. Like, how else are you going to grow something? And I guess
full fraud. It's one way. Yeah. That doesn't lead to sustained growth.
Yeah. No. So, and one thing that's interesting, though, if you go to GoldmanSachs.com right now, their front page is digitalization from cryptocurrencies to the metaverse. Explore the mega trends that are reshaping economies. Wow. Like, I think that is, one thing that a lot of people are like, oh, lit, like, you're talking much more about crypto and whatever. And it's like, dude, like, if Goldman Sachs' front page is about crypto and the metaverse, and you see like all these, the Fidelities and
there's a fuck ton of stuff here. Jesus.
Yeah, like everyone's really doing this. Yeah, just don't let this pass you by, right? Like, if Goldman, if major hedge funds are investing in this, if companies are literally changing their names, like, I think that's very indicative of a massive shift. And that's why, I think we're obviously excited to partner with CoinFlex. And I think, I'm investing in companies, from the Scout Fund and personal checks.
Have you made?
There's a couple, but I would say one that I'm really excited about right now, which is about crypto, it's investing, it's NFTs all in one, is this company called Royal. So this was actually one started by Justin Blau. He goes by Blau, 3LAU. He's a well-known DJ. And and this other guy who he's also impressive, but I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. So this company is using NFT technology to enable artists to sell stakes in their music to their fans. And so, like, you, for example, if if you wanted to buy 0.05% of Shakira's next single,
which I would.
Which you would. Okay. So then she would put it up on the platform, and it'd be kind of like an IPO, right? Like, you're like, hey, I want to grab some shares on this.
And you have that potential future growth there too.
Yeah. So then Royal is, on a play on royalties. So what they're doing is enabling a way for, like, saying, you as a fan, you own this tiny percentage of a song, and whatever royalty income comes in from that song from like Spotify or, you know, YouTube or Apple Music, like you get your pro rata share. And I think that that's fucking sick. And it's like enabling music as a new asset class that used to only be, you know, record labels or hedge funds or private equity firms. You know, like you've seen like KKR and like, you know, Blackstone, they're like buying these huge music portfolios. It's like, okay, well now, you know, anyone like you or me can just go and buy a stake of a song that, you know, to support our artists that we like.
That's really fascinating, though. I do really like that concept. You know, and it's funny because there have been some really bad NFT ideas, some really good ones. But when I was doing a little Googling earlier, I noticed a few that I wanted to just get your reaction on. But my favorite being, there were two specifically that were from like legit companies, and they had actual press releases associated with it. So there's a Charmin toilet paper NFT. Have you heard about that?
No, I have not. Can you tell me a little about this?
So literally, like Procter and Gamble had a news release. This was in like, I don't know, like March of 2021, and they.
Oh, like last week.
They call it 2021. Yeah, last year.
Oh, so last year. Oh, okay.
They call it NFT, and then in parentheses P, like TP. You ever TP a house growing up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. That was fun. TPing house, like throwing eggs though. Like that was always my favorite. Throwing eggs.
Yeah, I never. I only did a little TPing, but you know, never got caught.
I wonder if kids are going to be like TPing houses and throwing eggs in the metaverse.
He probably will. That'd be good.
But yeah, so they made a Charmin. They made a fucking toilet paper NFT, which I thought. I mean, it was kind of funny to me. An interesting sense of humor.
I will look into this one. Yeah,
look into it. You know, I'm sure it's on OpenSeas. But so then the other one that there's like an official press release for, which is just like wild to me. So like the Crock Pot brand. At an official press release, and we'll put this out on our Instagram page too because it's wild. But they were auctioning their first ever NFT to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Crock Pot. So the Crock Pot NFT. And what I want to know is like what lunatic purchased that? You know, like who in there? Like I get the NFTP, like that's funny, but like. Yeah. Are there people out there that are like, oh, I'm so into my crock pot, like I'm going to get an NFT about it, right?
Okay, yeah, looking at this press release, let's see. They had it up for auction on OpenSea for about $100 US. Interesting. Okay, well, that's not too expensive, but I just have no idea why the fuck. Yeah, like who would buy this and what do you get from it? And I think like that's something that like all these boomer ass brands are like trying to figure out NFTs, and it's like, okay, well, you know, or they call something an NFT, but they have it on like their own proprietary like internal blockchain that can't be sold. There's no value, but it's like, okay, like just stop. You know, anyone who's within this could see it like it's a money grab and it's worthless, and yeah, just
it sounds like Jim
stop.
Cramer's investment club.
Oh,
thank you. I'm here all day. Yeah. So
yeah,
you know, with that being said, why don't we jump into a little edition of Cash or Pass?
Cash or Pass?
Because I have a few quick questions that I want to get your take on that I think will help to further flesh out the kind of idea of NFTs. And so, you know, first off, I mean, the most obvious question to me is, have you ever thought about NFTing like one of your memes? So like Jack Dorsey, he NFT'd his first tweet, right? Like what about you doing, I mean, what is your favorite meme?
Yeah.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Did anyone buy it?
Yeah. Well, here's the best one, actually. I sold one last year that was invisible dank meme, and what I did was I screenshot a white square and uploaded it onto OpenSea, and actually ended up selling it to someone.
I love it.
I was like, look, I mean, you know, props to whoever bought it, I'm forgetting his name. He actually has a fuck ton of money, and he's like building out his own stable coin. But yeah, like that was one that was just funny in itself, because it's like a commentary on the stupidity of, you know, NFTs and the euphoria around it. And I think someone noticed it, right? And it's like, okay, like, I mean, yeah, I'll take the money, but I think that also just opened up a conversation with the guy. And I've spoken to him before, and like I had him introduced to you know, someone that runs a podcast, and it's crypto focused, and it got him out there, and I think that was good. But you know, yeah, it's just, but I think, you know, I think I know where your next question is, Mark, and it's are we ever going to launch a full-fledged NFT project? And I'd say I want to figure out something that is legit, right? We obviously could rug pull the fuck out of all of our shareholders, but we won't, right? We want to give value. Yeah, we want something fun.
Dude, my face, that was a funny joke, but just to like further double click on that, like my face, my name is out there. We obviously wouldn't dare, because then I don't know what that then I'm on OnlyFans at that point. Like, you know, I'm taking a big risk over here, Lit. You know, being the public one. So let's not you know, make those jokes, right? Because your boy's doing OnlyFans after this. So
there you go. Yeah, but so
you have to pay, do you have to pay W-2 taxes on that too? Like, that's wild.
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah. Or you could just
miss me with that.
But,
no, they take it out because it's going to the platform first.
Yeah.
My neighbor told me.
Your neighbor told you. Yeah. Well, look, I think the so yeah, I think like we will definitely look to create a project. I think it just takes time to get it right, because you know, like,
and getting the right people involved too.
Yeah, it's the right people, the right artwork, the right utility, and making sure that we don't make it a you know, security that will obviously get, you know, the regulators that we don't want on top of us. And so like, we're gonna do it right. It's gonna be blue chip as fuck, and I think we're gonna please a lot of people. But I think just, you know, everyone out there, just stay tuned. Stay
tuned. It's better to take time with stuff like this, because one of the next questions I was going to do is, what about like an NFT white label service, right? One where, you know, it's essentially a company that they're taking a fee off of, you know, the whole NFT stuff, but they have all the developers set up and all that. But I think I'd rather like discuss that with you, because that's like what we're going through, where it's like you're talking to all these developers, and it's not like, you know, we just redid our website, which it looks sick as fuck, but you know, it's not like something you can just shout out clicks. But you can't just like go, you know, look at reviews or, you know, see other kind of work product for the most part. Like, it's a very weird industry. And I think that's one of the things that gives us so much like hesitation, is like trying to be connected to the right people, because everyone like has a friend, you know, who like, I can only imagine how many calls you've had. Like, I've had like so many of like, like, oh, my boy does this, like my boy does that, you know. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but like, are they the best at what they do? And so it's like trying to vet people, get the right people, and you know, being able to make it so that we're able to really give you guys something like we're proud of, that it's like the money that comes in is being used on the right stuff, right? That it's just not like, you know, something that's useless. Like, we want to create, you know, further kind of grow this community. And so that's like why it takes time to get all the right people involved in something like this.
Yeah, and I think wasn't sure if this was one of those cash or pass type things on the NFT white label services, but I do think that there is a service out there that is trying to build that, and obviously like all this stuff is nascent and it takes time. But yeah, like I forget the name. I think, you know, we can dig it up, but like, the thing is, you know, okay, maybe that's a templatized type project, and maybe we want a little more customization. So yeah, that's where it's like, we need to find the right team, we need to find you know, the right developers, and just like make it exactly how we want it, and it being like, you know, a mixture of art, a mixture of like community and membership, and you know, it's like you got to program those smart contracts somehow. So I don't fucking know how to do it, and I definitely don't want to get in a position where it's just us two, and then we're like, oh fuck, we launched this, and now everyone's like pissed in the
dude,
Discord.
I literally can barely operate like Slack. Like I don't know how to figure out a fucking NFT thing.
Yeah, but that is So a lot of moving pieces. I think it's forthcoming. Everyone just stay tuned, and I think it'll be big, and we'll try to find the VIPs who get first look. The ones who've been day ones. Yeah, the VIPs.
All our homies in the DMs who are
out
there.
You think we should give them? Yeah, to the FinTwit crew, the first year 22, 24-year-old Wells Fargo Nomura analyst on
You like
Twitter?
That shit? That was a good fucking meme, dude. Yeah. I'm getting better at Twitter. Like, I'm winning them over, because like that yesterday I was just like bored, so I just started rating all their replies, and like they had no idea. It was just, it's great. Like, just being a troll on the internet is so fun. Like, it's just like I see how you could just you just get addicted to this. It's just so fun.
Yep. Yeah,
because it's like I don't even know what I'm saying half the time, and then people like I was like yeah, well, like Harris Williams, like the center view of the South, and then people are like going off about that. So I'm just gonna start referring to center view as the Harris Williams of the North. Okay, I thought that was funnier than it was. All right. Anyway, okay, I got two more cash or pass for you, Lit.
Okay.
So you know how the simponomics, the simp economy is really big, right? So with that, you're gonna have a lot. The virginity rate is on the rise, and you're gonna have people kind of having sex with sex dolls a lot more. And so, what if the sex doll company, whatever that company there may be multiple. What if they made an associated NFT? So it's like and they're all named different names. So it's like you have like the Jessica doll, or the Jessica. Whatever, Jessica at the beach, right? And then, you have the NFT for it. Do you think that would be something the simps would be into?
I have no idea. I thought, where I thought you were going with this was you have like a doll, and like the face itself is like,
is it NFT?
You can swap out. Yeah, like the face. Yeah, you can like swap out the picture.
That's a good, dude. Yeah, don't say that on air, man. Let's go patent that. That's so smart. Wow.
Oh man, I don't understand
Those
it.
will be available online in the store soon. Yeah. No, we'll pass. Okay. But so then this one I kind of like though. So, like the whole concept, of this art, of this, collectible item, but like, how are you going to show it off, right? So what about NFT wearables, like collection, but it's like super cool, like chains, like, like
the wrapper chains.
Like, and it's like a screen. It's almost like a Tamagotchi type thing. And, like then the screen will change and it'll just kind of be alternating. Mark. What?
It exists.
What? Damn it. Fuck.
But I mean, well, it's not.
Wow.
Yeah, like you gotta go to a high-end jeweler, Mark. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Like the guy in Houston who like does all like the rappers stuff, and it's like he's like literally delivering pieces during basketball games and stuff. Like just wild. Whatever happened to Mike Jones and Paul Wall? I wonder if any of our shareholders know.
Yeah, I don't know. They're probly pumping some crypto scam.
Foe. You remember that song?
Of course, dude.
Dude, what? Okay, last question. What do you think was better, Houston rap, Memphis rap, or St. Louis rap? Like, all kind of like between 2000 to like 2000. I don't know what 7.
I mean, I'm not that well versed in the differences between them, so I'm
so like you have Paul Wall, Mike Jones in Houston. You have like Nelly, right, in St. Louis, and you have like 3-6 Mafia, Project Pat in Memphis.
Fuck.
I'm going St. Louis, dude.
I like Houston. I like Houston. There's something there. I didn't know Memphis or St. Louis. Yeah, I didn't know St. Louis or Memphis were on the map. I know Atlanta is like the place, but.
Well, Memphis has always been on the map because of the Bass Pro Shop, the pyramid, right? That they used to play basketball in. And it's like the Egyptians are like, we have these pyramids. It's like, bro, we have a giant Bass Pro Shop, okay? That is so much better. That's why America will never lose. Sorry, ISIS. And with that, should we just, let's we're done. We're done here.
fucking done, dude. Yeah. Wait.
right.
I do want to close out this whole NFT thing with one of my favorite memes. Someone on TikTok posted like NFT users be like, I don't care that you are sleeping with my wife. I'm the only one in a legal official relationship with her. And that's how you best describe the NFTs. You're the only one with the certificate.
Oh my God. I love that. Say, don't right click on it, That's hilarious. I love that. Amazing. All right. And with that, we are done. We will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Big Swinging Decks.